Hey guys, and welcome back. This is ChosenArchitect, and today, oh yeah, we're going to be working on blood magic. So, I hope you guys are ready. So today, we're going to be working on the dreaded blood magic. And yeah, the reason I say dreaded is because for some reason YouTube hates that word, and we're probably going to use it a lot today. Oh well, we'll get around that. But we got to get it done. And I think I'm going to use this platform here for that altar. That, or I was thinking about doing it actually underneath the base. The reason being is because that thing is absolutely enormous. And yeah, I think we're probably going to go under the base. It's just absolutely enormous. It gets in the way, and yeah, it later on just looks so ugly just sitting on a platform. So I think probably either putting it above or below. I think below would be better because of how big it actually gets. Normally I like to put this thing in a different dimension if I can, but unfortunately there is no other dimension other than, you know, the last dimension that you go to. So we're going to have to renovate our mob farm. Right now I'm just going to clear out all this. I'm going to stop the mob farm because as of right now you can see it's just building up items. And yeah, that's no good. This is no good. I don't know what was changed. Oh, this is filled. So since this is full with gear, yeah, we're going to have to do some clearing out of some stuff. To allow, oh look at that, wow, that's a nice one. And this phaser rifle, like we're gonna have to allow some stuff to come in here. Unfortunately, things are just a little bit cramped. So I'm gonna do some cleanup of this, get some things stored away, and then I'll be back and we're gonna figure out what we can actually do with this mob farm here. So all of this stuff has been completed. I did go ahead and get this bad boy cleared out down here, and I want to talk a little bit about how you go about actually getting into blood magic. For one thing, you're going to need to make some rudimentary snares. This says throw at a monster and kill them to attain their demonic will. That is how you actually get started in here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to spam throw these at all these mobs in here and hope that you'll see some of those white effects. We'll charge this up. Ow, that he is really shooting us. Okay, so you see we just got a couple demonic will here. And that's exactly what we need. And that's really all it takes to kind of get started with this. It just takes you throwing some of this at it until you see the white particle effects up here. And once you see white particle effects, you know you're good to go. So I'm going to kill a couple more and get about 5 demonic will, I think is all we really need to get started. And then I'm going to show you how we can automate this. So now that I have a few demonic will, here's some things that we need to make. One, we need to make a blood altar, right? That is something that we definitely need to make. I want to find one that has the least amount. Right there, that has 0.49, which is like none. That's awesome. I don't want to use any of these that have a lot in them, because later on you're going to find out that you're going to need that higher number in here to add to it. So let's go ahead and also make a Hellforge. This is one of the main features that you'll be using this demonic will in. So we can keep this over here for right now. It doesn't really matter. But this has an inventory, right? And it may be a little confusing at first, but we're going to explain it just a little bit. So the one thing that I'm going after right now is the Sentient Sword. The Sentient Sword has a Hellforge recipe, and it tells you right here that this requires 0 will. It does require 0 will, and I'll explain how that actually works here in a minute, but it also requires a Petit Tartaric Jim. The Petit Tartaric Jim requires 1 will, right, to make it. So it does require it requires you to have at least a will that is in here that has at least 1 in it. We need some lapis, gold, redstone, and glass. So lapis, gold, redstone, and glass. And this really doesn't matter what order this goes in inside here, but it does matter that it is in here. And what you're going to do is you're going to take one of these demonic wills that have at least 1 in it, which is this one. This one has pretty good. Now we can place this in here. It's going to take a little bit of time, and this is going to get you your first Petit Tartaric Jim. Now the Petit Tartaric Jim basically is a storage for your demonic wills. So when you pick these up, it will no longer go in your inventory. It'll take that number that's on here and fill up that Petit Tartaric Jim. You can see, bam, it's filling up. And now our Petit Tartaric Jim is going to be pulling in these items, which is awesome because we need to use this for crafting. So also we have this one with a little bit left over. We can just throw that out here. And bam, it'll just pull it in and add to our number. Awesome. So remember, we're using this to get started. But there's a caveat right? There's just a little bit of caveat. Let's take a look at the sword. The sword requires a Petit Tartaric Gem, right? Which means we need to make another Petit Tartaric Gem, but luckily we have some stored in here. So back to that same recipe. If you remember it, I know I do. Redstone, lapis, gold, and glass. And this is the recipe that you need to get familiar with because you're going to probably use it a lot. You put that Petit Tartaric Gem over here, you're going to see it's going to take that from 14 to 13. There we go. And use 1 out of it. And that makes another Petit Tartaric Gem. Now we need to get ourselves a sword. A good old iron sword. And we can just throw this in here any random spot. And then put our Petit Tartaric Gem in here. And this right here is not going to use... It should not use any, but you do require it. See, this doesn't require anything but a sword, and well, technically it requires 1. So the Sentient Sword is going to require 1 of the will, because a Petit Tartaric actually requires 1 will. So the Sentient Sword, though, can be used in automation, which is what we're going to do. It's going to be really, really easy. We need a user, because a mechanical user can actually use weapons and tools and attack mobs. We're also going to need some sort of hopper or something like that to pull things in. I think I'm going to use the advanced node that we were using. I think it's the advanced collector. And let's go ahead and get ourselves a filter for it. I wonder if that was something I saved. It wasn't. So it's one of these paper filters down here. So we should definitely have that. All right, let's make yellow. Wow, we cannot make yellow. Dandelions. Now we're going to have some yellow. We'll throw that in there. Now we can make an item filter. All right, so I want mob drops to just disappear entirely. So what I'm going to do is trash them. This may sound like a bad idea because you're like, oh, you could just throw them in EMC. Well, there's a lot of items that aren't EMCable, and I don't want the loot crates anymore. I literally have everything that you could possibly get from a loot crate at this point. So a trash can is going to be our best friend. So we'll take a trash can. I'm going to filter out everything except for the wills, right? And we need to get another will, which we'll do here in a second. I'll show you with this sword. That we can easily gather will. And we no longer need that special thing anymore. Alright. Don't, yeah, look at this. Look at them skeletons just completely demolishing me. So yeah, you should be able to kill mobs and eventually get yourself a will. Now we do have this Petit Tartaric in our inventory, and that's probably not helping any, because the will's going into the Petit Tartaric. We need to store this for a second. Store this for a second so we can actually get one of those wills and save it. Alright, this should take us a second. There we go. There's a will. Awesome. So I think I'm going to put the thing at the bottom of this. Will you give me a will? I don't know. Alright, so we have a couple of will, and we're going to use that in the item filter. We're going to say will... Match metadata, ignore metadata, check OR dictionary, check MBT. I think it's just the metadata. It's the number that the will exists with. The will amount, we don't need to care about that. So we do need to get some kind of chest or something to store it. Okay, so let's get maybe another crate. Would work. So we'll just use a crate. And I think we also need another item filter. This item filter is going to be to blacklist these things. So this one should be set to whitelist. This one needs to be set to blacklist. Blacklist, there we go. So we have a whitelist and a blacklist. We need another advanced collector. So like I said, everything, we're going to have one trash can, one crate. That's going to go right here. So So a crate and a trash can. Advanced item collector. This one is going to be accepting wills. This one is going to be destroying everything except for wills. That should work. This should work. We'll increase the radius by a few. We don't need the Y radius going any taller, because that should be fine. Alright, we'll take a mechanical user. Oh boy, once these guys calm down for a second. I'll just place some glowstone right here. After we knock a few of these guys out of the way. Alright, so they should despawn eventually. Or we're going to go ahead and, I guess, break this. Doesn't really matter, they're down here. There we go. I'll use this wrench to rotate this bad boy. Let's get some dark glass. And honestly, this is probably one of the easiest ways to do this. I guess they're on here, aren't they? There we go. Alright, so we should be able to take this Sentient Sword that we made, place it in here, and use upper left-hand slot, and then we'll go use item, or it should be entity. And then left click? No, right click. Maybe it does need to be higher. Oh, there's no mobs in here. That would make sense. So, once we get some mobs in here, that should light up and start taking out some mobs. Hopefully. So this thing should work now that we have it on the right settings. Make sure this is on left click and you should be good as long as it's set to entity. And now anytime these mobs are going to spawn, this should work. I say should. I hope it does. And we should start seeing some will show up. And hopefully we'll see it filtered. I really need this stuff to be filtered. And why is this stuff not spawning? Is it because that glowstone's up here? You know, I probably need to get rid of these glowstone pieces anyways. So we'll remove these glowstone pieces. This is not helping with the spawning at all. There we go. I hear something being killed. That's good news. I don't have any will showing up in here. That could be bad news. We need to figure out exactly maybe how... Maybe this needs to be set to OR dictionary. I'll just set it to whatever that is. So that killed it. I seen Will. Oh, there's Will. I say there's Will. Like, there's Will. Yep. Hello, Will. Anyways, that's working. There we go. We have some will there. All we gotta do now is get this bad boy set up so that way we can have this whole room down here working on it. And which means we just need to work on making a few more, just a few more setups of this and a few more swords. So at this point I have this thing going pretty good. It's going at a pretty good pace. What we need to do is get a way to extract it out of that and go into this ender chest. We could technically import an ender chest, it just doesn't have a very big buffer, so eventually I'll upgrade that crate to a better crate. But for right now, we'll just stick with what we have. So I need some item conduits. Let's go ahead and pull those bad boys out. Good old-fashioned item conduits. So we have that. I do have this ender chest. Let's go down here and check this out. So now I have all 4 of these with at least one of these sentient swords. When it runs out, these will just punch mobs to death. It's not a big deal. This will take care of it. But what we were after is this will, and it's doing a phenomenal job of keeping those. So we'll just extract, always active, insert. That's going to start filling this chest up. And then what we need over here, next to our lovely Hellfire Forge, is a way to dispense these. And to do that, we have an open crate. I'm also going to need some kind of, let's see, stone maybe? Some kind of stone with a lever. And then we're going to need conduit. Redstone Conduit. Let's go ahead and pull that out. If I can find it. Just do conduit. That's probably the easiest way. There's our redstone conduit. We have our item conduit, redstone conduit, and we're going to have ourselves an open crate. Okay, so let's kind of figure this out for a second. Right here, I'm going to build myself up a pillar. On the side, I am going to need some more pillage as well. There we go. So I want this crate to be kind of right here, so I can stand under it and let it drop items on me. Up here, I need this inner chest, and then inside here is going to be an item conduit, which is going to, actually, we're going to run the item conduit in the back. So let's go ahead and run the item conduit to the back here. What we can do, set the item conduit up here, and I don't think this has to be fed in the top, which is good because we're going to set this up a very specific way. We need the Yeta wrench for our redstone conduit. This will be on insert right here, and we can leave that up here, though, is going to be right here. Always active, not always active. We want this activate with signal only, and the signal color needs to be green. Okay, so that's going to hook up to the redstone conduit all the way up there. So we should be able to place a block here and be able to power this as we go. It is a little high up there. It's not a big deal, though. Let's go ahead and run that redstone conduit. So here's the redstone conduit, right? So I need to set that redstone conduit and go, hey, you need to be configured a specific way. I want output signal. I need to know where this is going. Let's go ahead and see. There we go. I need that to connect. All right, so output, right? This is going to be input signal in green. We don't need this to be output. This is our input signal. Over here is our output signal on green, strong signal. So technically, that should be off right now and not feeding into this. We don't see it feeding. So if you put a lever here, if I'm correct, we should start see them falling out now. Awesome. And that's how we can turn it on and off. Now, all we need to have is a Petit Tartaric Jim, and you're going to see that's going to start filling up. And we can just set here, and we can just let these things fill up our Petit Tartaric Jim. And we're going to need a Petit Tartaric Jim to be full, because once this thing hits a full quantity of 64, we're going to need to upgrade this. You can see we can actually upgrade this from a Petit Tartaric to the next gym, which is a lesser Tartaric. It's going to require a Petit Tartaric, don't keep that in mind, and it is going to consume what we have. And the will, it's going to cost 60 will. This holds 64 will, so keep that in mind. It's going to cost a minimum of 60 in here. It's going to cost 20. It's going to pull 20 out of it, but it does require you to have at least 60 in there. You can see right here, minimum and how much it'll drain. And that's going to be upgrading this to a nicer Tartaric, and that's what we're getting into. This is like one whole side of blood magic that we get into before even building blood magic. It's just one part of it that you have to get into, and it's best that you get it done now than later. So let's see, blood magic, Petit Tartaric, or I guess we could say Tartaric. Yeah. So we need redstone, lapis, and gold, but we need them in block form. Redstone, lapis, and gold. Was that in gold blocks? I didn't remember. Was it gold block? No, it was diamond. There we go. Diamond. Just a good old-fashioned diamond. But like I said, we do need at least one more Petit Tartaric, so that's going to be redstone, gold, lapis, and glass. Down here. All of that with one of our Tartarics. There we go. And then what we can do is take this and then combine it with the redstone and diamond with our current Petit Tartaric, and you're going to see this is going to consume 20, but it does require 60. And that is going to make the lesser Tartaric, which holds a lot more will. It does, but we want to keep this Petit Tartaric because we can use it later on for smaller crafts. But yeah, you have to keep doing this and going up the tier, and this is just one of the processes. You can see this is going to store 64 very quickly, and these keep going up and higher, but certain crafting recipes actually require these higher tier gems. and it's going to require you to get these souls in a fast manner. Normally you have to kill these mobs, but for us, we can just stand here and let it build up because we have the killing automated, which is awesome. Gotta love that. You can see right here we just ran out, and so really we can just hold out and let this build up more, and we can start working on some other blood magic stuff. So let's go ahead and jump into the actual blood magic part, and this is going to require a couple things. We're going to need runes, but we're also going to need a dagger, which should be in this list somewhere. Right here. To kind of get started, we need a sacrificial dagger. This is going to just hurt us. It says just a prick of the finger will suffice. This will allow us to fill this with a little bit of blood. And this is the part where YouTube goes, hey, I'm going to start demonetizing your video because you mentioned blood. Of course it does. It happens every time. But like I said, this is just like one episode that we really need to talk about this. All right. So now that we have the blood altar, all we got to do is get some building blocks. Let's do stone. And like I said, I'm going to build under the base here. So let's go ahead and go down. And we're going to go actually under this, because this will eventually be removed. I'm not too worried about this, to be honest. There's nothing this is generating that I'm not generating elsewhere. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 blocks down. And then I'm going to place the blood altar. And then I'm just going to build a little platform right now that is going to represent our first tier of this, right? So now that we're down here, it's nice and dark, I know. Lovely, lovely, lovely thing. But we should be able to just actually activate this thing by standing near it and right-clicking this on ourselves. And you can see that's going to hurt us, and it's going to start filling this with blood. What we need to do now is take some actual stone, and we need to set this up to start producing some slates for us. Because when we take a look at the base slate, this slate is going to be used for making runes. We can't upgrade this to a tier 2 until we have this whole section around this filled up with runes. With blank runes. And we can't get blank runes, well, until things are done. And you might hear the mobs are kind of loud, but what we need to do is we can't really see how much is in here, how much blood is in here, right? Well, I guess we can't. We can do this. See, right now it is draining for some reason. That's strange. There's nothing in it, right? No. So why is it draining? That is actually quite weird. I've never seen it just drain like that. Does it just leak out now because of the tier it is? I don't know. So let's get some golden apples. Because those are like the best food right here, right? Because we can just eat them like crazy and hurt ourselves. Eat them like crazy. Fill our blood altar up. Eat them like crazy. Do this and just keep repeating this process till we get a little bit of blood in here. Let's take a look. So we have 7 worth. So technically I can place this in here. I want to make sure this is not draining. Yeah, I don't know why it was draining earlier, but it definitely was. So what we can do is place one of these on here, and what this is going to do, this is going to drain 1,000 millibuckets, so 1 bucket worth of blood here. It is going to replace that, and that's going to make this slate, right? And we need a bunch of these slates. Now we can automate this process with a conduit system and filters, and that's what we're going to set up now. So now that we have this set up, I can actually show you how the filtering system is going to work. So what I need to do is take a filter, place the filter in the extraction part, open the settings, and we're going to make sure that this is set to pull out blank slates and input them into this chest. If you don't do this, believe me, you'll run into the issue where you put stone in, it goes in here, and immediately gets pulled back out. It has to have a filter because this does not automatically filter it. It doesn't have 2 inputs or whatever you may see in a normal machine. This will automatically pull whatever goes in back out. So you have to filter it. And so what we need to do is get back on that train of doing this little number. Eating that. Do this back and forth. Keep doing this over and over again. As long as you have that gluttony charm, you should be able to do this. And it should make it pretty easy. Later on, I'll show you a better method to keep you always saturated and always have food. But you can see we have 1,000 here, which means we can actually put 10. But don't put more than that, Because what happens if you don't have enough blood in your altar, some bad things will actually happen. If you don't have enough blood in your altar, it'll pull all the blood out of your altar, and then it will not complete the craft. It'll just waste all of that blood that you spent a lot of time putting in here. You can see it also puts all 10 at a time in here, and I think it goes up to 64. So you got to make sure that you don't just put a stack in here. Put however much you have blood available for. And with a tier 1, you're only going to have 10,000 millibuckets, or technically 10 buckets worth of blood. And yeah, make sure, and even just to be on the safe side, while it's working, while it's doing the craft, just stand here, give it a little bit of extra. So that way, just to be on the safe side, that it doesn't run out. Just kind of keep it full. Like I said, it should be pretty easy. This is not going to be very hard if you have those golden apples. So another part of blood magic that you're definitely going to need to worry about before making the rune is a orb. Now, the orb that you need to make is going to be the weak orb. Each tier has its own orb that you're going to need to worry about. But for right now, this is only going to require 200 life points and is also going to require a diamond. And so we should just be able to place the diamond directly in here. And it's going to drain 2,000 millibuckets of life essence. And we should be good. I shouldn't call it blood anymore. I should just call it life essence, and that would probably save me so much trouble, right? So much trouble. But yeah, this shouldn't take very long. And there's also runes later on that you can add in here that do speed. So it just makes this way faster at crafting. This mod seems intimidating at first, but honestly, it's not that bad. There's only one more thing that I really want to show you before we end today's episode, and that involves ash. So let's take a look at that. And this is how we're going to make some stuff. So Arcane Ashes are used to draw an alchemy circle. It's made in the Hellfire Forge. It's very simple to make, and it only requires some regular demonic will. We can actually use our Tartaric to make it. It requires 0 will, right? This is something we can just make. You only need 1. As you can see here, we just got our orb. By the way, to link your orb, just right-click it once. It's going to be linked to you. It'll actually say your name, your in-game name. All right, so let's make this ash. Let's go back up to our Hellfire Forge. Let's make this ash. We are over here. Right, so we have this thing. Also, oh yeah, we should have tons of this. Perfect. And yeah, that should be totally full. All right, so let's go ahead and make this ash, right? So we needed, what is this? Bone meal, redstone, gunpowder, and coal. Bone meal, redstone, gunpowder, and coal. Perfect, just like that. So we throw this all in here, and we can use our Petit, it doesn't really matter. We have a Petit Tartaric right here. We could have used our lesser Tartaric, doesn't matter, just as long as there's some wheel in it, or you have one, and you can make these ashes. Now, this ash has its own specific recipes that are involved in this thing. So we have one thing that I definitely want to get, right? I want a sigil here, and this requires a blank slate. The blank slate, we just made a few of them. I want this Divination Sigil, right? This Divination Sigil is awesome. It's going to be very helpful early game. It just requires redstone and that slate. We have a slate, right? We have some slate. All we need is some redstone. And this ash is going to take a durability hit. Let's go ahead and we'll place down the ash. I want to do it somewhere cool looking because this does have a really cool effect, right? So let's place this down. Look at that. And what we need to do is place our redstone, and we'll define what type of craft it's going to be. And then we'll hit it with a blank slate. And that is going to start the process. And you get this really, really cool animation that goes on. And the next thing you know, you're going to get yourself a Divination Sigil. It says peer into the soul. What this is going to do is going to tell you, when you right-click it in the air normally, it's going to tell you your current life points that are stored inside your blood orb network. Or you call it life essence network, or whatever it's called, your life network. This life network is a major part of how you're going to do rituals later on. But you can also, if we don't have, if you didn't have this thing in here that tells you it's a tier 1 and tells you how much is in here, you could just right-click this on your, normally you can right-click it on your network, or right-click it on your table, and it would tell you But I guess it's just going to tell me my soul network, my current soul network. But either way, you can't see your soul network. You see, I just did it one more time. That did 200 more. That did 600. And I keep going, and then we'll end up having 1,000 life points stored in my network. Later on, we'll be utilizing that network. I just wanted to show you guys that real quick, and that's how you actually make some of the sigils. A lot of the sigils require this ash here. And you can see all the different sigil crafts right here. And also we have the binding reagent. We'll have to get into that later on. That's when you get into some really cool stuff. But for right now, I think we're doing pretty good. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, don't forget to click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And also give this video, guys, a huge thumbs up. I really appreciate it. I will see you guys in the next episode. And as always, thanks for watching.